Hey guys, what's up and welcome to today's video. So as promised, I said I would come here and share with you guys how I basically set up my week. But I also use this process to set up each quarter so that I consistently can move towards my goals. Because for myself, I set a 12-month goal, then I break it down into quarters. Right, Q1, here's what I'm going to do. Q2, here's what I'm going to do, 3, 4, and so on. But at the end of each quarter, I like to come in and review and obviously make sure that I'm still on track to reach my 1 year goal. And of course, I then need to kind of adjust and go, right, well, what needs to be done week by week and then day by day in order to hit this particular target or these particular targets that I've set for myself. So the main process, like the core of this that I use each week, is what I call the Sunday setup. So every Sunday, I jump on my laptop or into a notepad and I go through this process. I actually use a slightly different version because I've got an app that I can use through my own coach where I do this process. But if not, if I don't have access to the app, or when I didn't have access to the app, then I would just jump on my laptop and go through this 7-question process in order to basically figure out, am I on track? Am I moving in the right direction? What needs to change, and so on. So let's get into it. Let me just adjust my screen here so we can get into the Sunday setup. There we go. So we'll make it bigger. So the Sunday setup. So as I say, this is the process that I use weekly to kind of review where I'm at, what I've been doing, and what I need to change in order to keep moving towards my goals. And of course, what I need to continue doing as well, because it's not always about, oh, that was bad, that was wrong, what needs to change. Sometimes it's a case, well, what actually went well, what's actually working, and what can I continue to do in order to guarantee that I'll get the results that I'm after. So ideally, as I say, you will have already your 12-month goals if you've already set that. Doesn't matter if you haven't. You can just do this for a quarter as well. If you don't have a 12-month goal, you can just say, all right, well, in the next 3 months, here's where I want to be. This is the main targets I want to achieve over the next 3 months. And we're kind of looking at, well, what have I been focusing on over the past quarter in order to get me to this point? So as I say, ideally, you'll have set your 12-month or end-of-year goals, and you'll be focusing your efforts on what needs to be done in this current quarter. So this one we're now rolling into, what needs to be done in order to achieve the outcomes that you want. So question one is pretty simply, what is the goal for the quarter? So by the end of this quarter, what do you want to have in your life? Whether it's in your body, your business, your relationships, or your spirituality, or whatever domain you want to be working on. Maybe you're going to work on multiple. I try to myself. Now, if that's the case, what are those specific outcomes that you want by the end of this quarter? So we answer that question first. Then the next thing that we have to do is go, okay, well, am I currently on track to reach this goal by my intended date? Now, if you are, great. It's just a tick or a yes. I'm done. I'm on track. It's all going well. Now, if not, we need to look at why not. So it's fine if we're not. We just need to review why. We need to collect data, basically, to identify what's holding us back. Why am I not on track to reach this goal? Is it simply a case of, well, I set the bar way too high and it was actually impossible to achieve that? Or is it a case of, well, it was achievable, but I haven't been doing X, Y, and Z, so therefore I couldn't get the particular outcome? So you get the chance now to kind of identify what that is, so you know what needs changing and what needs to stay the same. Then question 3, what has worked this week? So we then break it down weekly. So we know what here was my quarterly goals. Then it's a case of, well, this past week, what has worked for me? What's gone well in order to help me move towards the goal? Even if we're not moving towards the goal, there are likely still things that went well. So we need to note them down because we don't want to constantly just be focused on the negative and our failings. So we look for things that are positive, even on weeks that we don't feel like we've made the progress that we wanted. So what has worked well this week? Then we go into question 4, which is, well, what didn't work this week and what needs to improve in this next week in order to keep me on track. So it's a case of, well, what hasn't really worked, has not gone well, what have I struggled with, what things have gotten in the way that I maybe could have avoided, and so on. What needs to be adjusted or changed in order to keep me on track so that I can obviously get to the end of this quarter and know that I've hit my targets, or at least gotten as close to them as humanly possible. Next step we've got is, well, based on what we know we did well or what went well, what we know didn't go so well and what we didn't do well, what did we learn this week from executing or not on our goals? So based on everything that's been going on, what have you learned about yourself, about the process? Maybe the goal's too big. Maybe the goal's too small. Maybe you just didn't show up for yourself. Maybe you need to tweak a few things, or maybe other people are getting in the way. Maybe you're letting other people dictate and control your time and so on. Like there could be lots of different things that are causing you to either remain on track or keep falling off track. This is our opportunity to kind of identify what those are and then go, okay, well, these are the lessons I'm learning so far about this process and about myself along the way. And here's what I can now do about it as a result of having learned these particular lessons. Then question 6 is, well, what outcomes and corresponding actions am I committing to this week and why? So based on what went well, what didn't go so well, and what we learned, what are we now going to commit to over the next 7 days in order to start moving towards the goal? Now, for some people, you might be going, this is a bit of a long process, 6 bloody questions. I could just say, oh, I want to lose fat. That's my goal. And off I go to do it. The problem is many of us set goals or have ideas, dreams, or targets, but we don't do anything about them because we don't really have a specific plan. We have an idea of what we'd like. We have an idea of what we might like to do or need to do in order to achieve it, but we don't have a specific step-by-step set of instructions for ourselves that we can just follow, bang, bang, bang. And then that way, obviously, we move towards our goals. Instead, we try to kind of hope that this thing will manifest into our lives as a result of just wanting it. But unfortunately, it doesn't. We have to actually stay focused on the particular outcome, as well as obviously the progress we make along the way. But we need to identify, here's what I want to achieve. Here's what I need to do to achieve it. Now I need to focus on being the individual who does those things consistently so I can have that particular outcome. And then the final part is basically we repeat steps 3 to 6 weekly for the rest of the quarter. So once you've set your quarterly goal, you obviously don't need to keep going back to that and resetting it. You already know what the outcome is that you want. So we just go back to step 3, which essentially was, well, what went well? And we just start from there each week. So every Sunday we check in with ourselves. What's gone well? What's not gone so well? What have I learned? And what am I committing to over the next 7 days in order to ensure I reach my goals? And it's that simple. In reality, this process for most people takes about 10 minutes. Sometimes if you're someone that likes to go deep and you have a lot of thought, insight, revelation that comes up when you do this, then it might go a bit longer. But in reality, it's like a 10, 15-minute weekly setup that you go through in order to not necessarily guarantee your success, because making the plan is just one part. Of course, we then have to follow through. But at least having the plan, you're more likely to show up and do the thing, because you're not going to wake up on Monday going, what do I need to do this week? Or just try to carry on how you did the previous week, but with that week not being so successful, you then kind of roll into the next week the same, but you haven't adjusted anything, haven't made any of the changes or tweaks that needed to be made in order to obviously reach the goal. So it's not to have this video run on, because I could just keep going on and around this stuff for ages. I'll leave it there. So that is our weekly process. I'll just quickly run through them again. So at the beginning of each quarter, we sit down with ourselves and go, right, what's our new goal for this next quarter? Then we look at, well, am I currently on track based on everything I've been doing so far in the previous quarters, etc.? Am I on track to reach that intended goal? And if not, why not? Then we simply go, what has worked this week? What didn't work this week, or what needs to improve in this next week in order to keep me on track? What did I learn this week from executing or not on my goals? And then what outcomes and corresponding actions? That's the most important part. It's one thing to set the goals or the outcomes that we want, but we have to have an action that's in alignment with that goal so that we're actually doing something to achieve it. And then, of course, it's a case of, well, which of those are you committing to over this coming week in order to ensure that you reach your targets? So I hope that helps people. If you want me to go into this in more detail or expand on anything, or maybe you have some ideas and systems that you use yourself, feel free to comment about them below or ask me any questions below. And of course, as always, I will get back to you guys as quickly as I can. I have tons of different resources and systems and protocols and principles like this that I use for myself. And I'm more than happy to share them all with you, assuming that you want or need them. So if you ask me the questions and they happen to be relevant, I'm more than happy to share them all with you. just let me know in the comments below, and I look forward to chatting with you all in my next video. Take it easy, people, and I will chat to you soon.